How are you doing? Oh, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? You know, everybody has the option to get the resource list. And I've sent out the resource list to many people. If you haven't gotten it, email me. Just let me know. But contact me and I'll get back to you. Now, you know, it's a lot of stuff. It's about all the presenters. If you print it up, you can make your own notes. You know, I put in little pages here where you can have notes, and that's great. And then there's the part that you leave in your computer. You download it so that every link that you get for all of your freebies and all of your fun stuff, you can just press on the link and you'll go right there. Isn't Isabel just so cool? All the presenters are so cool. So sorry. But, you know, if it made you laugh, then we're boosting your immune system. That's all I can say. All right. So, yes. Today I did make a smoothie. And I just wanted to let you know. So we've been talking about all of these things and these foods. And making it, you know, easier to do this. But, you know, my daily smoothie, really, it depends on how I'm feeling, what I'm doing. And this one, which is really bright green today, sometimes they're purple, sometimes they're brown, has coconut water in it and a little bit of pear juice. And that just gives me, okay, coconut water, a little bit of pear juice, blueberries and strawberries and peaches to reduce inflammation. And I did put mango in. I wanted a little touch of mango today. And then my greens, I stuffed this thing with greens today. I just, you know, doing a one of these summits, you need some energy. So I got my baby kale. I use the babies. I use the organics and the babies. Younger sprouts are healthier for you. The newly spinach, that means I have to add a little bit of lemon. So and I can. Kale especially, they're not nearly as chewy. I'm sorry. We've got somebody said Michael can make me laugh. Yes, cucumber. I love it. Water. Yeah, so spinach, I always have a little bit of lemon, which is for the body that extracts the iron. It's really important to do spinach. Spinach, and then for the to get, you know, the iron from it. I also added parsley to it. Parsley is high in vitamin C as well. That would help extract the iron from all the other leafy greens. Beets, I threw in the beets. I didn't have any beet greens today, but yes, a lot of the comments in the Facebook group talk about how beautiful and good for you beet greens are. Celery, a little bit of salt. Now, this was a really high density drink, so I had to actually add an entire 8-ounce bottle of water to make my blender. It's something I sip throughout the day. We'll talk about it. It's going to be one of the challenges on the summit. Not going to make you go out and buy $100 worth of vegetables, but I'll explain and show you how to do that. Okay, now our next guest, it's so perfect that these people entered my life. Our next guest is Kirstin Jarvi. She is a master in integrative medicine. This is one of the most exciting ones for me because I think she rocks. I know she rocks. Ta-da. Hey there, everybody. It's Prav, and I want to introduce you to Kirstin Jarvi. She is into integrative medicine. Actually, she has a master's degree in it. And, well, the first thing I guess we'll do is we will talk to Kirstin and ask her, what does that mean? Hi, Kirstin.
Hi. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much, Prav, for putting this together and bringing us all together. I get that question a lot, and that's what I love about it. It's really a new profession, and integrative medicine, I know what some people have thought about it is an Ayurvedic medicine, and that's part of it too. But basically what we're taking is the best in digital science that we have available with these beautiful little smartphones, so we can take personal ownership and responsibility for our own healthcare and monitor our own microbiome. And believe it or not, viruses. So we believe that as we move healthcare forward, the sooner we catch something through innovative digitized diagnostics, the better we will be. So I'd rather catch things at stage 0 than stage 4 as a healthcare professional. So we're coming out of the clinical environment and kind of coming to create these because there's lots of science behind it. But now, because of COVID, all of this has quantum leaped. Oh gosh, what normally would take 5 to 7 years, we've done in 1 to 2.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been telling my patients, my clients for 28 years that, science will get you 80%. The other 20 is all on you. That's your job.
Yes.
And, unfortunately, it requires money because in America, the healthcare system doesn't offer as much as in other countries. But it's still really good to know what's going on with you and to be able to speak with your doctor intelligently. And I'm so excited and thrilled that you could be here. I really am.
Thank you. And just a little more personal background. I'm actually, when I was in my 20s, trained as a dental hygienist. So my game is really the microbiome and the saliva. And then I went back to school to collaborate and co-create with nurses and physicians and got my master's in science and integrative medicine, mainly because what we were doing is working already collaboratively, cross-referring. And so many keep calling me a doctor, but I do know a lot about medicine, but just like you, right? We have the physical body, we have the emotional body, and we have the spiritual body. And as hygienists working in a very intimate space, I could always tell if somebody was stressed or not getting enough sleep. And it really showed in their microbiome. And the great thing that we have in technologies today is we can actually saliva test. We actually have those tests already here in Northern California, real-time tests, where you'll know if you have COVID rather than waiting 5 to 7 days to get a test result. We're hoping to roll that out this year so that way people can take self-responsibility and self-quarantine so they can actually spend time with their family members, because some couldn't see their family members not knowing if they were positive or not, because you don't want to infect grandma or Uncle Jed or whoever, right? So some of these technologies are coming on board we were using already for other modalities. For example, inflammatory conditions, people that have chronic disease in some way, shape, or form that might not even know they have it until it gets to the point in our healthcare system to that stage 4, which is much more difficult to treat, which I'm sure you saw in massage therapy for many years, right? We're all about prevention. So if we can catch it early, and that's working behaviorally with an individual, it's a win-win-win. It's a win for the patient. It's a win for the healthcare system, as well as we get excited about this stuff, but it's really about getting that knowledge of what is available and what we can do in the present moment and in 10 years. So I get excited about this because I'm like, yes, doing this for 30 years and seeing people suffer, or for example, as simple as losing a tooth and not being able to have as good a nutrition and eat the type of foods that they really want to eat or need, as simple as that. And what we know is the senior population, your generation and my generation that follows, are keeping all of their teeth. And so there's a lot more preventative that we're going to need to be to educate it and take it to the next level. And a lot of that is in our saliva. Our saliva tells us a lot. And
I have one question. You're talking about a saliva test for COVID. My daughter, when she came back from Florida, got a saliva test, and they told her in 2 hours. Now, what is currently the accuracy of that test?
Yeah, great question. So that's an awesome question. We know with the data analytics so far, and we have research dating back for 2 years, that it's anywhere from 98 to 99.7% accuracy rate, which is better than what they're calling the gold standard of a PCR test. That's the nasal swab. But the reason why the federal government and states were promoting that is it's because what they had the most of. These tests were not released until just recently, even though they were available in March and April of last year. But the FDA considers them a medical device, and it had to go through proper channels, and we were kind of put on the back burner of that. So knowing that, and having something like in the palm of your hand to be able to look at you, I'm getting you on my and basically what it is. Basically what it is like a little PCR chip that we put in there, and you take a little dab of your saliva either with a pH strip, it's like a little paper strip, or you can actually take a little Doppler and drop it into the slide, and you slide it into your little USB drive right in there, and it will show up a panel. I know, yes. It will show up a panel. So what this is helping do is making healthcare accessible to anybody. It's exponential health is what we call it, which means that for $1, you can test yourself once a day if you like. Now, we're trying to take that to the next level and be able to test IgG and IgM, and that's your antibody titration of your immune system's health. And I'm just using COVID as an example, but we'll be able to do that. We already do that for diabetics, right? But we'll also be able to do that to catch cardiovascular diseases, prevent stroke, test for C cross-reactive proteins, which is a homocysteine that's in your liver to show if you've been exposed to any kind of inflammatory proteins or viruses or bacteria. And so a lot of that will be nice to know, because here's the cool thing. If you know that at that early stage, we can reverse it through diet, sleep, exercise, alkaline the body, and then prevent it from ever happening. So that's the beauty of it.
That's just crazy.
It is. It's digitized health. And it's really the Generation X, which is my generation. Most of us are in our 40s or early 50s. Yep, our Xers, right? And it's not so much about, gosh, pat me on the back or give me a trophy, so to speak. It's kind of like we want to make the world a better place. And as you know, coming from that philosophy, just make an impact in people's lives and end suffering if we can when it comes to the physical body. But we also know that people need to take care of their wellness through the emotional body as well as the spiritual body. So meditation is very key, because that also can change your cellular microbiome and genomics. We know that now. It fascinates me. I've been a meditator for 10 years, but I just did it because I enjoyed it. But now we know it's actually changing the microbiome, and it's changing the genetics of your risk, because you're able to be, I know. And, the Buddhist monks I've read about this for years too, but the Buddhist monks have known this. And it's pretty much in any spiritual literature that you read about, right? Go inward, go inward. And I think this day, where you can get information at the palm of your hand, right? I think some people are overloaded with information. And so sometimes we just need to slow down, be in the moment, and really listen to our bodies through our breath, through our heart, through giving ourselves gratitude practices. All of those come into fruition when it comes to your physical health. This is pretty new stuff. And when it got into the publications, like research journals that are so heady in the medical profession, I'm like, yay! I was so excited. So now, and I just did a search this morning, there's nearly 500 documented longitudinal randomized controlled studies that is showing meditation helps with your health. And that's on a spiritual level. So I want to bring that in too, because being in the healthcare field, sometimes we're always so focused on the physical body, whereas we should be focusing on the spiritual well-being of the body as well. The two go hand in hand.
Yeah, I've always, when I owned my spa and had the practices that I've had, it's always been, I want to be able to tell people actually that there's scientific proof behind this stuff. Of course I knew before doctors admitted it that meditation was good for your health, or yoga, which is stretching,
yes,
mindset, all this stuff. But there's something else to be said for it. There's been a double-blind study on this. This has been tested by medicine. Now they have to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not just like those little airy-fairy, people around as a massage therapists tend to be. We're pretty grounded. We just are somewhat intuitive about this stuff because we're connected to our body, so we know it. And that's why I'm so excited about your talk, because it's like bringing the two together and moving forward.
Yes, exactly. And I think our generation has been wonderful about that, in keeping an open mind, like not shutting things down before we truly understand, seeking first to understand before being understood. And I think the technology has also has had a rebirthing of that process to get that information to connect to others. So as a researcher and as a data scientist, we're now using technology to take massive amounts of data and design studies. I mean, this is why the mRNA vaccine came to fruition. We actually had 10 years of studies from the H1N1, the bird flu, as well as SARS-1. So we were already working on this back in 2001. So this is not something just hocus pocus, pull the rabbit out of the hat. This is something that, as technology was better and the microchips sped up and the imaging has sped up and our pixels' ability to see and go, oh my gosh, this is happening, exponentially our healthcare is getting better. And I foresee now, this is another thing, and we're talking about the future of healthcare, I foresee in the next 10 years we'll have cures to pretty much 90% of the cancers. Alzheimer's will be a thing of the past if caught early. Diabetes will be reverse bioengineered. So if you're a type 1 diabetic as a child, and cystic fibrosis, which also decreases lifespan. Those 4 things will be cured in the next 7 to 10 years, and maybe even sooner with the research and technology we now have. Again, it comes down to the behavioral characteristic, but also using something as simple as a lab on a chip. And this lab on a chip technology in the comfort of your own home on a smartphone, you'll actually be connected to a specialist based on your microbiome and based on your cardiovascular inflammatory condition at that time to speak to you from the comfort of your home, just like this. So this way we won't inundate the hospitals, and this way we can follow up with you in a week, and it's more personalized and customized and predictable. So therefore you get the healthcare you need in real time. It has always been our vision to bring this forward, but now with the baby boomers, which is a large population, our parents, to me, this brings me a lot of joy to be able to set my family up for success, especially my parents, and knowing that they can have the best of healthcare no matter where they live. I mean, to me, I think we have healthcare kind of a digital divide if you live in a rural county versus a big city. And I don't think that should be a deterrent to getting the best in healthcare. So it's kind of our philosophy. And I work with a bunch of geeks. I own it. I'm a geeky girl. More of an introvert. But to be able to share this brings me a lot of joy. And to share this with your community. I mean, there's so many questions that we still are going to answer, but we can cure diseases and even chronic conditions. But like you said, it's an 80-20. So I like to shift that. It's 80% behavioral and 20% us as doctors and nurse practitioners and hygienists and alternative practice techniques and integrative medicine. It's up to us to coach you to do the right thing. We know that a lot of healthcare or chronic disease is due to addiction, whether it's food addiction or whether it's due to an inflammatory condition that someone might not know about that's ruining their endocrine system, which is your metabolism, basically, right? But that's the beauty of yoga. Stretching awakens those organs in our body and gets them moved and massaged and massages that lymphatic tissue so that inflammation doesn't stay stagnant in that area. And once you get that right blood flow through there, it's like just you pee it or poop it out. So that is kind of like everybody poops, everybody pees, right? So that is really what it's about. And I foresee, instead of having these blue zones, what they call them is people living in their 90s and centennials living in their 100s, where they're just isolated in localized areas of like the Mediterranean or Japan. We'll have that we'll have that across the United States as well. We'll start to see those blue zones again if people actually start applying the information given to them. So I'm excited about this stuff. But we're going to need educators like you to bring it in, usher it up.
I've always been interested in this. It's always been a goal. And I think 2020 has made it really important and really brought in people's minds, really important to me in my life. As you're talking about this, I just want to ask you a question about, the healthcare inequality and the cost of getting health insurance that covers this kind of stuff. Are there plans in the work to make it, because ultimately it would bring down the cost of healthcare considerably.
Yes. Yeah.
Are there plans in the works to bring this to everybody, or are we talking about the elites here?
No, we're talking about everybody, because if you have $1, you'll be able to run a test. So to me, it's exponential health means democratizing healthcare, which means as our technology has gotten better, the costs have come down. For example, I might just give you an example because I do look at genomics, and we know that genomics just gives you risk. It doesn't mean that you're going to get the disease, but knowing that you're a carrier is kind of nice to know, so you know how to gear your diet, right? So about 10 years ago, it used to cost us about $10,000 to do a full genome panel of the human body. Now it's $100. Now $100. And I foresee that getting down to $50 or $20 because the technology has gotten so good at taking just a vial of blood and running your genome. And body scans that used to cost $16,000 here in California. I'm just giving you ideas, right? Just giving you some numbers I know here in my state. Used to cost $16,000. We're now doing imaging on a smartphone that could cost you $50. So let's say, for example, you think you broke your hand. You can just scan and then send it to your doctor. everybody knows what a broken bone looks like. It's, you know, and that way, you know, it's like, you have a broken bone, don't keep working out, or, you know, so let's say something like that happens. So then, you know, and you can bring that and you send it in a private app to your doctor or physician, and you get scheduled that same day rather than going through an ER treatment, which is 4 or 5 times more expensive than just going right to the source saying, yes, here's the image already.
Can I tell you a story about that? Yeah. Okay, so
yeah, go ahead.
It was a holiday, and my daughter decides to take a fall. And so she might have broken her arm. Poor thing, we take her to 5 or 6, take her to the hospital. We wait a few hours to get the x-ray. They do the x-ray, and then we have to sit and wait for the doctor. But I saw the x-rays on the screen, and I said, and I just my stupidity, right? I walk out of the room, and I was like, is this her? Oh, okay, she's fine. We can go now. Come on, let's go. And they were like, no, you have to wait for the doctor. So then the doctor came in like 2 hours later and said, yeah, it's fine.
I know. So, you know, that's like, I take the philosophy of like, you know your body better than I do. You live in it, right? You're with it 24/7. I maybe as a hygienist get to see you maybe 4 times a year if you have inflammatory condition for 1 hour at a time. So I always show people what they can do to know if they have an active infection. It's simple, right? If your gums bleed, you have an active infection, even if you're on blood thinners. Just means that your immune system's responding to something in your body that it doesn't like. So, you know, that's why I say everybody, I'm like, shoot, if everybody flossed, they would know exactly where their cardiovascular health is every day. Because if they have something that's causing a trigger or an inflammatory cascade, you can see it with just flossing or soft picking. It's that easy. Or water picking. If it bleeds, it needs, right? So, you know, so, I mean, and that's, patients love me because I always goof around because I want to make it fun. But it something as simple as that can expand your lifespan by 7 years. It makes you 7 years younger. And that's beautiful to me. So I say 7 minutes a day keeps the doctor and hygienist away in dentistry. But now we're also saying that cardiologists are loving us because they're sending their really difficult clients to us, and we're reversing the inflammatory cause, which is in their mouth, which is ultimately what they're swallowing and causing carotid strokes, Alzheimer's, pancreatic cancers. It's all inflammatory, and the body turns on itself. So as simple as that. I mean, you know, if my patient says, I wish I would have saw you sooner. And I said, well, you know, you probably heard this before, but just never heard it in the way that I'll describe it. But there's plenty of information out there. I'll make it fun. But each time you come in, I'm going to ask you, do you have any bleeding spots in your mouth? And if they don't know, well, then I know right off the bat, they're probably not paying attention to it. Right. So, and that's okay. I'm not here to, you know, saying you should be doing this. It's just that then I take the time to show them with an intraoral camera. See this area? See all the redness and inflammation? That inflammation is like the size in the palm of your hand. So that inflammation is not just localized here. It travels. It goes to your carotids. It travels to your lungs. The capillaries in your mouth have the same alveoli capillaries in your lungs. So the more you can treat it here, it's less likely to get into your cardiovascular system and infect other small blood vessels that feed your organs. We know that. It's fascinating stuff through the microbiome. So 60% of all inflammatory conditions, you can find the bacteria from the mouth in them. And that to me is just like, yeah. I mean, I'm like, yes, but we didn't know this 10 years ago. So now we can look at that. And now we're all working together rather than in silos. Like, here's your endocrinologist and here's your cardiologist. So we're all coming together. That's going to take a little bit more time, but the data is there. We don't need much more data. We need more implementers and educators. So that is kind of my goal this year, is to, as a healthcare professional, make education fun, make it predictable, make it preventable, and then speak to a lot of people, you know, interviews and encourage those and kind of get people connected to resources already available. These little smartphone tests are already available. They already got approved. So, yeah, it's happening in San Jose right now. So, yeah, it's great stuff. So now you can follow yourself. And
does that mean it was approved in the United States?
Yeah, it's approved in the United States and in Israel, and I'm not sure Dubai. So in the United States, it just got approval, which is it means it's gone through stage 3 clinical trials. So now it's being released. And it's also, and this was just a month ago. So this was in November. So we had to kind of wait for the final, I know. So you're getting hot off the presses. So we had to wait for the final on it as well. And doctors already at UCSF and Stanford are already using these technologies to use chairside. I want to bring these to every dental office and then put it in the hands of customers. We first want to train healthcare professionals and then just pop it up on an Apple App Store and anybody can download it and be educated. You know, like it will have a guide in there saying, hey, you need to get to a cardiologist or you need to see your dental provider now. So schedule an appointment. So it'll be proactive rather than reactive. And it's tested so well. I mean, I think we've had nearly 100,000 people use it that, you know, the efficiency and effective and simplicity of it at a score of 1 to 10, I think we got a 92% ease of use of it. So we want to get that number up higher, but yeah, I know. So it's like, it's a slam dunk. So, you know, putting this into the hands of everybody. And we know if the tests are only $1, anybody can do it. Some companies are going to be releasing them for $20 a test. That's okay too. But my goal is to get it as low cost as possible so people will do it. Where cost isn't a barrier. And therefore we'll have that data because it'll be private. But then we can do our own research design with the data saying, in Florida, real time, in Florida, this is how many people are testing positive. And this is the type of strain that they have with COVID, right? So we know through looking at the genetics, the strain that's more deadly is there's an L strain and an S strain. There's an S strain that came over from Europe recently, and we can trace this, that can wipe out people within 3 days, just even healthy individuals, because the binding of the ACE inhibitor prevents oxygenation through the lungs, through the bloodstream, and your organs shut down in 3 days. And, you know, that to me is very scary with a virus like that. I'm not here to scare you. It's very rare. It's like right now it's like less than 1% that have it. But those that do, on average, it's been about 3 days. And this is before they even think they have the flu. This is like from symptoms to bye-bye, you know, and so some of them, go ahead.
I just want to say something can sound scary, but if it's the honest truth, if you're shedding light on a subject, it's not meant to scare you. It's just meant to say this is a fact. What's scary is it doesn't exist, or you know, or everybody's going to die from either ends of that spectrum. We don't want to be.
It's the extremism, and so we're monitoring that strain rather closely. It came out of London, I believe. I think the originator. We're not quite sure, but looking at the data, and I work with informatics, you know, bioinformatics out of Johns Hopkins University as well as UCSF. So we work in these teams of 5 to do contact tracing. And that's how we knew how quickly this thing was moving. So it's kind of like the movie Contagion, right? But, you know, it is to me about getting the knowledge out there, not something to be fearful of, but just know that we can prevent it. Like the stronger our immune systems, taking vitamin D3. I think everybody in the wintertime should be on a vitamin D3 regimen, either 1,000 to 5,000 milligrams, depending upon how much sun you get in a given day. You live in Florida, I live in California, so we get way more sun than, let's say, New York or, you know, Michigan or Wisconsin during this time. Zinc is another immune system booster. Vitamin C, another immune system booster. And then what we're knowing through the science is a vitamin B12 chaser. Now, I call it a chaser because you don't need vitamin B12 all the time, but in liquid form, your body, it helps your body metabolize the proteins in your foods more effectively and efficiently. And we need those proteins in order to create cellular synthesis, which means to create more proteins. So it makes our immune system stronger at the cellular level. This is cytology, we call that. And that also helps our mitochondria, which gives us energy to perform at a level that it really should be. But I'm hoping to get the supplements kind of in a testing app as well. Right now, that's kind of our 3-year plan, but we are working on that as we speak to test what is the right titration of vitamins and the supplements quality, because everybody's body is different. So that way you can look at your smartphone in the morning and say, oh crap, I need more vitamin B12. And supplement that either through your foods, right, or drinks. Yeah, it's going to be that easy.
So wait, we're talking vitamins here, and so you can get something, you can stick it in your phone, right? You spit, which is very difficult to do, right? None of us. You find out, oh my gosh, my B12 level's low, I need more zinc, or
magnesium. Yeah.
I have to be out in the sun, or I have to do, take some wow. I mean, it sounds cool. It sounds fun. Like 3 years.
Yeah, it might even be sooner, but right now it's all about COVID. So it's how we get approval for that through the queue, because it's considered a medical device for approval here in the United States. We might be able to release it maybe in Australia or Japan first, even though it's an American company. And I'm not going to give names yet because I can't let the cat out of the bag, but we'll do another one of these in a year or two, and I'll definitely be able to tell you the name of the company. And some of these I'm doing the data science for and consultations for, and some of these I'm designing myself based on the knowledge I have. Yeah. Because I want to know, I'm like, what do I want to know? So, I mean, that's usually what's like, there's a little thing going on because I have the LIGO and I know my thyroid can be put off, right? So I'm constantly wanting to know how my body is performing. And especially when I see clients, chairside, we're at a very high risk as hygienists. I want to know what vaccine would be best for my body type. And there's about 15 more vaccines coming online come January, February. So it's not just going to be the mRNA, Pfizer, and Moderna. There's going to be a whole bunch of people could get confused. So maybe we'll just do an interview on all the different vaccines. I will send you an article that I think is the most comprehensive that I've seen. It was written by the Washington Post. I think it came out on December 14th or 15th, but it was written by women in science. So it was very comprehensive, very informational on the different types of vaccines. There's 7 different types of vaccines to fight COVID, from traditional to the mRNA, but they're just going to get better and better. So, and we'll be able, I think forecasting a year, I'm personally looking at a vaccine called COVAX. And COVAX is in a phase 2 clinical trial right now. And COVAX is a multi-tote vaccine. And basically what it is, it's a one and done vaccine. You have one vaccination and you're done. There's no titrations needed. And how it works on both the S protein, which is the little spike protein, and it works on the envelope. Oh. So it's like a double duty vaccine. So that's why it's a one and done. Mm-hmm. And it's less likely because it's in powder form and gel form and doesn't have to be refrigerated. This is the one that the World Health Organization is using in very rural areas. Believe it or not, they're going to be delivering these vaccines to small little villages because we need to get vaccinated globally through droids. And they're going to be delivering, rather than trucks, it's going to be delivered through a droid, and the droid lands with a package of vaccines, and which is how it should be. And think of using that same technology here, so it's not a problem getting it to you in a truck. Right. We can deliver it if it's not having to be frozen, no matter what the weather. So
you're hitting the portion of our programming here. This is like
I know. So, I mean, I have so much in my head. So if I'm going off, topic, but, that's the wonderful thing about, what I call digitized health and exponential health is not something to be scared of. It's something that we can take personal responsibility and know in real time what our bodies needs. And if we know what our body needs and we have that information, we know better, we should do better. Right. And therefore not have a pandemic like this ever again, which is my hope.
Which I hope also. I have a question about vaccines because, according to what I'm seeing, we all are waiting. We're waiting. And most of us won't be vaccinated for 3, 6, 9 months. So in that, we have time to look and see which vaccine we want, which one we think is best for us. We talk to our doctor, we find who gives it. And then there's also the fact that some states are choosing one vaccine over others.
Yeah.
But my thing is I want personal freedom. I want people to be able to decide.
Yes.
Is best for them. Since we have to wait to get it, we might as well do a little bit of research, see what we can for ourselves and our family, and then try and find it. And that was why I was so happy to hear from you. Because last time we talked, I think you told me about 7 vaccines. Now it's doubled.
Yeah, it's, when I was looking at that article and then I looked up in the literature, I'm like, holy cow, there's nearly 50 in the queue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's global. So that's just not American. I was looking at America. It was 7 the last time we talked, which I think was November. But I was just looking at data in American journals. Looking globally what's available, there's nearly 50 in the queue. So that can confuse some people, right? And some are on the stock market and some are not. Some are private companies. And COVAX is a private company. It's a subsidiary under United Biomedical. But that science really knocked my socks off. Out of all of them, I was like, oh my gosh, this is, and again, another Gen Xer, female, entrepreneur from Colorado who said, I want to bring this to countries that need it, that we're not even paying attention to, that don't have the income levels that we do in the United States. And that was her global perspective. And, that was Mei. Mei is the CEO of COVAX, and her husband and her mom was a biochemist and actually helped find the HIV vaccine, which we now can vaccinate people with HIV. And some are showing no signs of HIV whatsoever. So, which is amazing. I know, it just blows me away. So, I share that with you. And I think your question was, yes, I'm totally very much aware it's a personal choice. And, me personally, I'm more at a high risk because I'm with patients once a week and I see 8 people, and you should see the spacesuits we have to wear, right? It's like, no, I'm at high risk. As long as I'm in a clinical setting, I'm going to be vaccinated. But I'm even waiting until February or March, even though I could do the Moderna or Pfizer now. And my reasoning is I want a one and done so I don't have to go back in a year, because we don't know yet if we have to do another titration like the flu shot. We don't think we have to, but some may have to. And I think if we can individualize that based on if we have antibodies, if we have IgG or IgM. Now, IgM is an antibody in your bloodstream or your serum that shows that you have an active exposure to COVID. And IgG is the antibody that shares with you that you now have immunity. So do you need the vaccine is the question I have. And so far, no one has been able to answer that question. So if you've been exposed and you have the IgG antibody, your immune system might already have immunity. So why should you, in a natural way, so why should you get vaccinated? I'm open-minded enough to know that there's some people walking around that are immune. But we still should wear a mask. Why? Because of this new strain. We don't know how this booger's moving. And so until we get at that herd immunity, that herd immunity count, I think it's at 70% level, whereas either 70% of the population is vaccinated or is immune, which we'll be able to test for that. We're just not rolling those out yet. That's going to be really pivotal in shifting how many vaccines we may need. But right now there's this full force, get the vaccines everywhere, which is great because it'll get people out of quarantine, right? It is a solution where we can get this economy back and running and people can now be together as families. I mean, all of that is important, the social. Did I answer your question? I know I kind of tapped on different things there.
No, yeah, absolutely. Now, I do have a question. I had heard that AstraZeneca had offered to not patent their vaccine.
Yeah.
And America did not take them up on that offer. But do you know anything about that?
So paying attention, and this is actually in the article, they had some during the phase 2 clinical trials, they had some adverse reactions. So, the United States decided not to bring that in. And I think that was an English company, Merck. And I think they even stopped that study. They're having to start all over because no country was really taking it on. So this hats off to the safety and the quality control and the efficacy of the data scientists that said, no can do. And part of them are virologists inside of the FDA. So there are people who are altruistic, volunteering their time, not getting paid to review this research and saying, not good enough. And so they don't make the cut. So that's part of it. Yeah. But in other countries, it's okay. So, that's where I was like, people can take that risk, but they were finding in some women, I believe, don't quote me on this, but it was causing early stroke and cardiovascular diseases, the body wasn't tolerating it well. And it was causing an inflammatory condition outside of, and I think it was like in 3 to 5%. And that's not good. Yeah.
Which brings me to a touchy subject.
Okay.
Which I might cut out of this one I'm editing.
Okay.
So this brings me to a touchy subject. There are people who are afraid of the vaccines in general, and one person in particular contacted me and wanted me to ask you specifically about, I forgot the name of the person that wrote an article about it, but something to do with making women sterile.
Not true. That's a myth. I'm glad you brought that up. That is not true. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And, this is one of the challenges we as healthcare professionals, we have to know what's truth and what's myth. And there are people writing things that have no scientific relevance. It's more of opinion pieces. I've read a lot of also coming out of some groups saying that the preservatives in the vaccines and all of this is causing detrimental effects. That's not true. We've tested it. I'm looking at the adverse side effects of some of these vaccines. They're very minimal. And a lot of them is just like if you had COVID. And these are not live viruses, right? So you may have a little headache or you may feel a little bit tired. But I'm talking to nurses that are getting them right now. So I'm on the phone daily. And they're like, Kirstin, it is so easy. It's easier than a tetanus shot. So is the risk worth the reward? So with that, yeah, it's not true. So thank you for that. Is there another touchy? I'm happy to just be confident and say that's a myth.
I'm really happy to hear that. I mean, we've been hearing much on the news about the Tuskegee experiment, right? So it does make sense that there are people who are like, well, if that happened, then what would stop it from happening now? And we need people who are honest and know what's going on in order to say, no, that's not true. Everybody has to make their own decisions about what they do and which vaccine they take if they take it. That is beyond my pay grade.
Exactly. And I feel the same way. I'm like, if you don't want to take it, I hope you know your body well enough. That's kind of my philosophy. If you're not going to get vaccinated, I hope you know single thing about how your immune system works and that you have no inflammatory conditions currently. And if you're obese, the best thing I can say, if your BMI is an obesity, the vaccine is better to take than not. And the reason being is you are at high risk. I can't even begin to tell you how high of a risk with the data that I was looking at. So that's why I think the beauty of COVID, not to be narcissistic about it, it's getting people to exercise who haven't exercised in years to take off the excess weight and really take it seriously. Like, I don't want this COVID and I'm going to do everything in my power, diet, exercise, mindfulness, to change this. And it's important.
Yeah. It absolutely is. And the next year is not going to be a panacea. I think we've been told that, but we still wish 2020 a nice goodbye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
2021 is going to be a tough year for many people. We're still losing too many people every day.
Yeah.
But there's hope. And where there's hope, I think even just feeling hope helps your immune system. That's a mindfulness thing. Just being able to move. And you're just a powerhouse of knowledge about this. But what other exciting things are coming down the line? What else can you tell us?
In healthcare, okay, so my area or my geeky girl expertise is in the microbiome. Mm-hmm. And I love bacteria. Good guys. I mean, there's good bacteria and bad bacteria, in the gut, in the mouth. And there's some that just do amazing work for us. And what I mean by that, there's some bacteria that's on our side. And I think, I made a little note on this, so I wanted to share this. Is like with the new diagnostics of digital and connective genomic age, which is what we're entering now, we're going to call it the bioinformatics age. At the molecular and microbiome level, I mean, this is stuff that we can see now, and I can send you pictures that you're going to go, oh my gosh. We have a real opportunity in this given day and age to increase health, increase happiness where we won't have depression for those that suffer from depression, and increase longevity. Like you said, it's mindset, right? So it's an energetic field that we can see. I'm a Reiki practitioner as well. So I can actually see if somebody energetically is at a homeostasis or balance. So I kind of work in two worlds, and intuitively I can feel things of somebody that is vibrating in health versus somebody that may be out of balance. And it's really up to us as the healthcare professionals to usher that through, but then be open-minded enough to say, hey, let's work with spas. Let's work with yoga instructors. Let's work with physical therapists. Let's work with trainers, because what we can see at a cellular level is so beautiful. It's almost like a beautiful art piece. I can take images and go, oh my gosh, this is like almost like a Picasso for cells. And to see how the cell just thrives with mind, like mind body, and how the genes just radiate when you give it the hope and inspiration and happiness and gratitude and love. I mean, all of this may sound really hunky-dory, but the truth is we can see it now. in imaging, and to look and see that in the cameras that we have is absolutely beautiful. And to share that with people in the brain and seeing how the brain, I mean, we've done a lot of studies with Buddhist monks and meditation and how that lights up the brain. But not only that, how their level of stress is almost like they don't feel stress. And we know stress is a huge indicator, right? So it's like, the part of doing, I think in our culture, in our Western culture, we're constantly doing. Well, maybe we should add a little bit of being, because we need to rest. And with technology, with things speeding up so much, we need to have that balance, that ebb and flow in life. And I truly believe in that. So I always do a digital detox for like 3 days, and I feel so much better after I do a digital detox. Now, that's shutting off all computers, technology, going for a hike, going and doing some gardening. Maybe it's going on a nice swim in the ocean, going in a swim in my pool, playing with my dogs, just reconnecting. Because in an over-connected world like we live in today, sometimes it's good just to be, and you have to turn off those digital devices. They're also showing that some of the, energy of these is affecting some people's sleep. It doesn't affect my sleep, but for others, it affects their sleep patterns. And that's something to be mindful as well as, are we able to rest fully? Because that can shorten our lifespan as well. So I'm excited for the future. I'm like, bring on the future, because it's only going to get better. And in the present moment, I can look at things and see the light at the end of the tunnel. 2021, we're not out of the darkness yet, but I believe there's enough lights twinkling around us and in us that if we pay attention to it, we'll get through this and be stronger and better than ever before. But a lot of that is our bugs in our body, because they're good guys that don't want you to be depressed, and there's some that just want to take over. And if you know, go ahead.
No, it's funny that you say that, because right after you in the summit is the doctor and the chef. And the doctor is suicide outside of the box, and she's not your gut.
Yes.
So we talk about poop. Great. Great interview.
That's great. I'm so excited. Now, I have to be honest with you. I won't be able to maybe attend live, but I will be there for a live Q&A just because of how busy I am. But I will be there in the Facebook group answering any questions if anybody has them. And I would love to give 5 people my book. It's called One Habit for a Thriving Home Office. So for those of you that are small business owners, or even healthcare professionals that work from home, or even you're a mom and you're a CEO of the House of Hogan, right? That's a job to me. It's really how to find one habit and changing that one habit. But it's a group of us. So it's not just myself. I'm a contributor, but it was a best-selling book within 2 weeks on Amazon this summer in July, because everybody was working from home. Yeah. So it's a bestseller, not only here in the United States, but globally. And it just was released on Audible 2 weeks ago. So I'll send Hogan those links. Prov, those links. And for 5 of you, I'll let her choose which 5 of you get that book. And you can get it in Audible, which is recorded. You can get it on a Kindle, which is in digital form, and I believe it's on Apple Books as well. But I'll send her the links and then give her the credits, and she could just send that book out, or I can get in a hard copy. If you get in a hard copy, let Prov know, and I'll actually sign the book for you and send it out to Prov so she could ship it out to you.
Oh, the days of signed books.
I know. I miss those. I used to go to those, and I miss concerts. It's like I miss live music. I think that's probably one of the biggest things I miss. I don't know. What do you miss the most, Prov, during this time?
I want to go dancing.
Yeah.
So I just want to dance. I boogie in my house. I sing.
Me too.
I'm happy I sing, but I want to be, and I never really did this much. I went to a lot of concerts when I was a kid, but I never really realized how much I want to dance with people near me,
Yes.
Yeah, it is, as far as the 5 books, whatever happens, it's going to be first come, first serve, because I am not picking.
Okay. I'll help you manage that. If you're hearing this in the comments, post in the Facebook, and the first 5 yeses, you're in.
In the Zoom link, and comments in the Facebook link.
So say yes. You say yes. One habit book. That's all you have to say. And between Prov and I, we'll reach out to you.
And okay, so I've got 2 last questions for you. What is, someone's walked into this summit and is like, what is she talking about? Right? What is one simple thing that a beginner, a novice can do to move in this direction of what you're talking about, if you believe, as they believe in what you're saying?
So I guess the one thing, to repeat your question, the one thing to really kind of take away from this, to keep it simple and easy, is the question I want to put that question back to you. If you can know where your body is in any given moment, let's say you're off one morning, you're not feeling well, and you can just take your saliva and put it on a little pH strip and pop it into your smartphone, would you want to know? And if you could feel better within an hour or two by supplementing what your body needs, would you do it? Right? So that's really, to sum it up, that's basically it in 2 sentences or less. Mm-hmm. We'll have that capability, and anybody can do it. And I'm sure they'll be able to, you could buy the app for like $24.99 a year and test as much as you want. Mm-hmm. Or you have the free app and then just test as you go, right? There'll be options for you. But my goal is to get those tests down to $1, $3 or less. So less than a cup of coffee.
That would be great.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking, in my whole life, I was severely anemic.
Yes.
Testing out B12, will that give me what I need? How about nutritional use? How about if my acupuncturist? But nobody could really just say, this is what's going on with you, and it's made for a very different life. And I love my life. Love my life. All that, but it would have been very different. So my next question is, what would you say to somebody who geeks out like this on this the way you and I do? What's the next step they could take? If you could tell me what to do next, big geek here. What do you want? What would you say? Do this.
Okay, so here's what I would do. I would go to a Prob's 21 challenge. Honestly, first thing, do the 21-day challenge and tap into these resources that are being given to you, because I can go into deep dive and actually show pictures, which I will show pictures. It's going to be more visual. It's going to be more interactive. It will be live where you can answer. I can do a Q&A live, and I can base the presentation based on questions coming in. That's number one. Number two, if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have time, but I really want to get involved, I have online courses that are going to be coming live where you can take them on your time. I try to make them short and simple, but they're 1 to 2 hours. And I keep the pricing from anywhere from $57 to $99 to intro. And if you want coaching, that's a whole nother level. But there's going to be all that information. But I would do the 21-day challenge first, because that gives you the global perspective.
Kirstin is going to be one of the speakers on the 21-day challenge, so I'm very excited about that. And we'll get into this more. Plus all of her information, her contact information, her classes, how to reach her. It's all on your resource list. Go in there. I'm going to say it again. Geek out on
we have Geeky Girl Club. I mean, we are a bunch of geeks. I have a Facebook group. There's about 300 of us. Yeah. And if it seems like a foreign language, I mean, I have public members too. They're like, can you say that in English? We do say simplified, because we start talking about bacteria and proteins and all this, and it is like a whole nother language, right? So what we'll do is we can really simplify it and visualize it. And I honor those questions coming in, because when you come and ask questions, I get to them within 24 to 48 hours. That's my goal. Or sometimes your question's so good, I do a Facebook Live on it, because I think that it could benefit not just you, others. So that's the beauty of the network.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of the internet. And unfortunately, COVID has brought us to a place where a lot of us are home. So, join our Facebook group and ask her questions and say, stop speaking science, speak my language.
Yes.
This is a global summit. And just remember, on Facebook, they will translate it to any language for you, so she can do that.
Yeah, that's another great plug. Mm-hmm. And if I don't have the answer, I will tell you, but I will provide resources to people who are specialists about your question, which means that if you really want to deep dive, I can refer you to other people. I'm open like that, because I don't know it all. I like to geek out and stuff and learn it, but I'm humble enough to know that there's still a lot I don't know. And if your question I don't have the answer for, I'll tag others in the community that might have the answer for you, and maybe do a Facebook Live with them in the community.
Yeah, well, we need honest practitioners, and most are.
Yes.
Most are. And I remember from my days doing massage and owning a spa, if I didn't know something, I could send them to one of my employees. And I said,
yes,
this person does good shoulder work. I'm not so great with shoulder work. And then they get the shoulder work, and then they'd come back and see me, because they knew that I was the honest person who was willing to let them go It's been great talking to you, Kirstin.
It's been so good. It's such a joy. I'm looking forward to the 21-day challenge. So
We've got some great things going on there. Today, I taped a laughter meditation class with somebody.
Man, I'm signing up for that one.
And that's what this is about. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day, and thank you for bringing us all together. It's really a joy.
Yeah, my pleasure.